Think you know esports? Think again. Here, the virtual hits as hard as the asphalt. This is racing redefined. Every battle, every red line, every risk, real. Those tears? That sweat? The milliseconds that put you on the podium? You can't fake it. Because any real racer can tell you it's more than just going round and round. This is about clutching victory from the jaws of defeat, pushing beyond what you thought possible. With the largest sim racing prize on the line, if you're race-born enough, you've got a real shot at glory. Because this is iRacing, and it's as real as it gets. Watch it all live on Twitch.
Well, we are back a week later, and it is week number 3 of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars from Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. I'll get there eventually. My name is Paul Smith, ruining the start of the show already. Arjuna Kankapati alongside with me, ever the professional though.
No comment. Although I will say, sunny Spain, Ardennes, can't complain wherever you are, because great racetracks to be found at both locations. But Paul, the first time we've returned to Spa in a handful of years, and we got a slightly new version for these drivers to think about, some extra gravel, curbing to work their way through. But before we get to the Supercup All-Stars, the Porsche 963, it should be a blast.
Absolutely should be brilliant stuff. And well, Storm Molina had a guest watching over her practice and just, well, decided that, well, let's just stare into our souls, or at least the camera there. But Belle certainly having fun out there, and I tell you what, she's really had some challenging races so far this season. It'd be good to see her improve for this week at Spa. Absolutely,
I've got to say, you know, rally drivers have a co-pilot. If you look across and they ever look at you like that, you know you've done something really, really naughty. Belle, though, I think in particular, we've seen her get more confidence since she debuted last year, right? But the 911 GT3R may be more her cup of tea. We take a look at the schedule, Paul. We return to the prototype, but we'll put it aside and head to sports cars and throw away traction control and ABS for the next 2 rounds in March.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Ring and Thruxton in those Cup cars, then Fuji and Le Mans to finish off the season. And well, we're going to have an absolute thrill ride this season. We've seen some great action so far in the All-Stars. These drivers then driving the Porsche 963 GTP all got a fixed setup, so they're all driving effectively the same car. They're currently in qualifying right now, open qualifying for 10 minutes. We then get a sprint race for 15 minutes, and then the full grid is inverted, 25-minute main race. If they have an accident, that's not a problem. They can get onto pit road and get a repair for free here, Arjuna. I'm sure some of our real-world drivers would love to have that ability.
Absolutely. I mean, just think about some of the changeable conditions that sometimes you see at the Ardennes, right? Imagine in the stonking rain, you have a slight mistake. It'll be nice to have a free reset. No weather expected today, though. Let's take a look at, well, a track that all these drivers will know and probably have done hundreds, if not thousands, of laps around. The elevation change is what makes this track so unique. But 7-odd kilometers, 4.35 miles, 19 turns. And Paul, you love to mention, of course, the run out of La Source all the way up through Eau Rouge, top of Radion, climbing through the Camel. It's a good 2-odd kilometers that your foot's planted to the floor before you then get onto the brakes at the Le Comte chicane, which in this 963, Paul, I think is going to be very interesting. Are you going to be able to make some moves? Will you feel brave enough at almost 320 kilometers an hour?
I've been there in real world for the Formula 1 and the World Endurance as well. Seeing prototypes around this track is nothing short of spectacular, seeing them flat out through that Eau Rouge Radion section. If you are wondering what's happening with the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup throughout the season, well, go and check it out. iRacing.com/PESC for all of the information to do with the series, not just the Supercup, but also the All-Stars as well. We are missing Emily Jones today. She is racing in some real-world racing, so all the best to Emily for that. But we have got a 13-driver grid, and here we are then. Casey Kerwin and the Pulpo Lopez sharing the front row with Pablo Vicente and Quirk on the second row. Saptoid and Stradi on row number 3. It's row number 4 for Kenny 500 and Basic Ollie with Grizzle. Tony Kanan, he'll be hoping for a better run here today. Daniel Gray and Love 46. I promise not to mention Love 46 at all this week after what happened last week. Storm Molina rounds out our 13 cars on the grid for this All-Stars. It's the sprint race at the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup All-Stars. And Arjuna, Casey Kerwin, I think we need to be starting putting some, I don't know, parachute on the back of his car. What can we do to slow him down?
Success penalties. That's what we need to do. Every time Casey's in this prototype, we know just how quick he is. So the question I think is going to be, can the Pulpo Lopez put the pressure on with cold tires, plenty of energy at the start of these races as well, talking of the hybrid systems, right? Can he try and put Casey back a little bit? We know Pablo Vicente starting third alongside Quirk. Pablo said this is not his favorite car. He prefers being in the GT3 and the Cup car as well. So if Casey is given an opportunity to break away, you know he'll do so. And maybe, Paul, we then have to think about the full invert for the main race if anyone else is going to stand on the top step of the podium.
Do you know what, Arjuna? After this week, all the drivers get a little bit of a break before the mid-season tournament. I think I'm about ready for a spa day. We get ourselves...
Paul, can someone get him out of the commentary booth, please? Come on.
It was there. I had to. It was low-hanging fruit. But anyway, the drivers, they'll get themselves set off behind the iRacing Porsche 992 pace car, and get a little bit of what they can of temperature into these tyres, but you don't really get much because it is a short pacing area here just before Blanchimont, heading into the chicane. You'll hear me call it the bus stop chicane, but it's not in the shape of a bus stop anymore. But these drivers in this 963 prototype will have one heck of a fun ride with that downforce. Remember, all drivers driving effectively the same machinery, all got the same setup. And we go into the chicane. The iRacing Porsche pace car pulls off into pit road. We're under the control of Casey Kerwin. If ever anyone knows how to do a rolling start, it's Casey. We've got green flag action underway here for week 3 sprint race in the All-Stars. Heading towards La Source for the first time. Can they all make it through? A little puff of smoke from a lockup. Oh, half spin there from 146. She'll get going once again, but off the back of the field. Casey's making a little bit of a breakaway at the front ahead of the Pulpo Lopez. And look at them thundering through Eau Rouge and Radion.
It might already be done. You give Casey that opportunity, he'll break away. They all have to be a bit more careful on the outside of La Source. Given the last time we were here in 2023, there was no gravel. All drivers keeping it for the most part on the tarmac. Top, though, of the track. They'll get onto the brakes hard for the very first time, and side by side, Stradi's going to fight alongside of Basic Ollie as they work out through Malmedy, but single file once again. Paul, outside of Love 46, having that slight slip up, very clean start in the sprint race.
Yeah, it's been so good so far, and the question is, can we keep this up? Tony Kanan in 9th place, a gain of a position then for TK as we go through what used to be No Name Corner. It's Speaker's Corner, and then into double gauche, the double left-hander at Pouon, and then through Lefania chicane, right and then left. Car went off in the background. That was Grizzle. The Grizzle's had issues out there in these early going. Meanwhile, Tony Kanan, look at the focus, look at the concentration on him right there, Arjuna. He means business.
I tell you what, we need to get TK into one of these Porsche 963s in the real world. I mean, just remember, 6 hours of Spa, the World Endurance Championship race. was where we saw the Porsche come out on top, but it was one of the customer team cars. So just saying, TK, let's get a sim racing community car. Maybe we'll pair him up with Casey Kerwin as well. Just ideas. Meanwhile, up to the chicane, wheel to wheel, Samsoid's going to try and make the move on Quirk, but not going to happen. And now they run up towards La Source. It's actually lost them some momentum up towards the back of Pablo Vicente. 1 second the margin up front, though. Casey Kerwin smiling at the front of the field.
Oh, he's delighted, isn't he? It's absolutely fantastic for Casey at the front, and he's just focused one way, and that's forward. Why wouldn't you? The Purple Lopez, though, 9/10 of a second ahead of Pablo Vicente into second place. It's Quirk, Samsoid for 4th and 5th place. They're pretty much tripping over each other with basic ollie. Up the Camel Straight then. It is a hill. You don't believe it until you actually walk up it, trust me. You feel that as you go up there. And then into the chicane, and then through Malmedy, heading down towards Brussels once again. There's Quirk on the left, and then there's Samsoid on the right. 4th and 5th right now, Arjuna.
And at some point we'll get to start bugging these drivers, pulling them into the broadcast booth, which is always our favourite part of the Porsche All-Stars, if we're being honest. There's half a smile on Quirk's face before he throws it into the left-hander. That's just because we haven't started the distractions just yet. I said at the start, Paul, when we were walking through the track analysis, these drivers will have all done hundreds, if not thousands of laps. Again, remember, we've had the iRacing 24 Hours of Spa running for now, going on almost a decade at this point as we head into 2025's iRacing special events. But of course, this is such a popular track across of the iRacing official series, so no matter whether it's in a smaller sports car, the rookie kind of cars that you'll get into in the world of iRacing, or stepping up through the ladder of sports cars into prototypes, these drivers have done so many laps, so many races around here.
So it's the end of the second lap then. Casey Kerwin just pulling out the gap even more of the Purple Lopez with Pablo Vicente in third. Love 46 has had to take a tour back to pit road after getting damage on that first lap. So she'll be starting at the very front of our field in the main race. Remember, 25-minute main race coming up for these All-Stars as they go down the hill, plunging downhill. And one thing I would love to know is what's the aero wash like behind these cars going through a Rouge Radion, because if you've got clean air going over that Porsche, it's how the designers designed it. When you're following a car close behind, how is that for the drivers?
Well, again, they've all got a fixed setup, Paul, so unlike in an open setup series where maybe they dial in the setup to how they need it to run in dirty air, at the end of the day, challenge is the same for everyone, right? And that's one of the great things about sim racing. No two cars roll off a factory floor in the real world identically, right? It just doesn't happen. In the sim, we can guarantee that programmatically, right? And so you get to that level where you can fix the cars, you can fix the setup. It just makes it such an intriguing challenge. And you can already kind of see by the fact that there's not too many moves being made right now, it's clearly not that easy for these drivers to follow a car length or two behind. Instead, it's a couple more car lengths. They're still feeling a bit of the understeer as they follow in that aero wash, but I'm just wondering, is that going to mean when we flip things around for our main race, is it going to be quite difficult for drivers, even with significant speed overlaps, to try and fight their way forward? Is it going to be difficult for Casey to make a double victory here at Spa?
Well, before we get to bothering our All-Stars drivers, we've got a very special guest who's joining us here in the commentary booth today. And Arjuna, take it away then.
I think, yes, we'll have a chat with Thomas Preining, a Porsche factory driver who has plenty of experience around Spa as well. So Thomas, thanks for joining us first. Tell us a little bit about some of your memories racing here around Spa.
Hello everyone, first of all, thanks for having me. Spa is a mega track, a typical driver's favorite. I've done the 24-hour race there a couple times myself. It's always pretty special weather, especially in the night. It's usually wet and quite tricky then. But all in all, it's one of my favorite tracks, absolutely. It's such a rhythm-based track. You really drive yourself into a beautiful flow, and it's kind of a state of mind that's a bit unique.
And if I remember correctly, you actually won at Spa in the Porsche Supercup in 2018, so some fond memories there as well. Talk to us about how sim racing is a tool, a way for you to practice for when you head out there into the real world and have limited practice time getting up to speed.
Honestly, for me, especially on tracks like Spa, Sachsenring, let's say, that are really rhythm-based, it's a really good tool to prepare. Other tracks where you cannot test, let's say like street circuits, obviously it's the only way to prepare as well. But all in all, I've always loved sim racing. I usually do some of it in the winter myself. In the official races, I get into it a bit and have a couple of weeks of good fun. And in general, it's just good to mentally also stay in shape, to keep the rhythm, keep the form on a high level throughout the winter months when sometimes it's a bit less busy in the real world.
Speaking of the real world, I think you might still be out there in Jeddah. What's going on in terms of your racing program for 2025?
Now I've just done the rookie test in Jeddah, car. Now back at home, starting to prepare the European season, DTM and GT World Challenge as well. So it's gonna get quite busy. I still have a week of a bit more relaxed at home now, but then March, April, May, June, beginning of July, I'm almost never home. So at the end of the day, it's what I love to do. So I'm never complaining about it, but it's definitely good to have a few days to recharge the batteries before, kicking off the busiest part of the year.
And talk to us, right, about your relationship with Porsche Motorsports. You mentioned just finished Jeddah, where you drove in the rookie-free practice with Tag Heuer Porsche, but you race Porsches around the world. It's a pretty special life, like you say, that you get to enjoy.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've been with Porsche since the beginning of 2017. When I joined the junior program, I was 18 years old then, so it's my 9th season with them. And I've had the big pleasure of actually driving and racing all of the cars race cars that they've built since then. So from the Cup car to the GT3R, RSR, had multiple tests in the LMDH car, Formula E. So I know a bit about all of them, and this is something I think that's very unique with Porsche. They're so heavily involved in almost all series in motorsport, and I think this is very, very difficult to find elsewhere.
Before I let you go, it's always hard, asking what's your favorite race car. It's like asking someone, a parent, who's their favorite child. But what's your favorite race car in the Porsche family that you've ever had the privilege to get to drive?
I think in terms of pure, let's say, driving pleasure for a quali lap or something, I think it has to be the RSR also because of the sound, and it's just a pure beastie race car, And in terms of the racing itself, definitely the GT3R. It's definitely the best for on-track battling. That's why I love to do DTM specifically, because it's one of the only categories and also the only car that can provide such close following each other, and also the ability to actually go for a dive and overtake properly.
Well, best of luck for the 2025 season, Thomas, and looking forward to following you around the world of Porsche in the real world.
Thank you.
Great chat there, Paul, with Thomas. Love to get that sense from drivers about how sim racing ties into their real-world careers.
Can I just say as well that it was at this track that the Porsche RSR caused me damage to my hearing. Sat in the main stand on the start-finish straight at Spa for the final 45 minutes of the World Endurance race that I went there a few years ago. And yeah, I had ringing in my ears because clearly that RSR was the loudest car out there on track. Don't get me wrong, spectacular noise, but it damaged my hearing.
Okay, yeah, as long as you're only complaining about the hearing damage and not the sound of the car itself. I still remember I was Rennsport Reunion 2023. They had all the generations of the RSR, and it was so interesting hearing how they had to quieten down the sound of the car with each generation as they went along. Yeah, the 2017 one, I think that's the one where it was at its most natural, most raw, most noisy. Probably the one that would have done the most damage to any hearing, Paul.
I'm trying to remember what year it was that I actually went to Spa. Yes, this is what happens as you get older, folks. You start sort of forgetting what you've done, where and when. It was 2018. There you go. 2018 was when I, well, basically had my hearing damaged. But there we go. Right, we're into the final 3 minutes of this race. We've been keeping a track of everything that's been going on. Casey Kerwin is leading by a second. Pablo Lopez has closed that gap just a little bit this last lap ahead of Pablo Vicente. And then we've got Quirk in fourth. And then this battle for fifth right here. We've got Samsoid, Basically, Straddy, Kenny 500 all together on track. Straddy giving us a little bit of a wave whilst we're going along as well. This is really intriguing stuff for the fifth through to eighth battle.
You called out dirty air earlier, Paul. We have not seen a pass for about 8 minutes right now. It's been very, very difficult for drivers to actually pull alongside and to lunge. Now, I think that's going to be something that's quite unique to the 963, given the speed, the setup maybe that we have here as well. And like you said, the dirty air. I don't think this is what we are expecting when we get to the Supercup by any means, right? I mean, think about the amount of times that you've been calling side-by-side action up the top of Lake Com, through Malmedy, and then diving down all the way through Kuon. It's going to be it's a track in which you can race side-by-side for basically the entirety of the 7 kilometers. Might not be the quickest route around the track, but it can be done.
I always go back to the very first season of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. Tommy Erstgaard in the main race, getting his one and only main race victory as we're still battling away here into the chicane. Straddy not able to make a move yet, but setting up basically potentially down the start and finish straight towards the La Source hairpin. White flag in the air from Barney, so we're on to the final lap of the race. But yeah, it was the one and only time that I haven't commentated on one of these Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup events. Tommy Erstgaard won, and that was an absolutely breathtaking neck-and-neck race in that one. That's what I expect to see in about 47.5 minutes time.
Yes, and I'm expecting the main race is going to be interesting, right? Because, you know, I think part of what we've been observing is it's just good defensive placement from many of these drivers as well, right? You saw into the final chicane. I mean, basically Ollie placed his car in such a way that Straddy can't get past. The run up to turn one isn't long enough for there to be an opportunity to pull alongside. I think the main race, when we're seeing Casey and maybe the Pulpo Lopez in particular trying to now find their way forward, they'll have an opportunity, Paul, with how fast they are to get alongside. Question is, will there be drivers such as Grizzle, maybe, TK, Daniel Gray, who are going to be at the front of this inverted main race grid that can take their opportunity to break away at the front?
Well, Basic Ollie has lost track with Samsoid here, so Samsoid's pulled away a little bit of the three behind him. Dipping a toe into the gravel trap on the exit of Campus through Stevelo, and then heading towards Curve of Paul Frere, and then Blanchimont for the final time. Speaking of the final time in the sprint race, nice day at the office for Casey Kerwin. Through the chicane he goes, and it's yet another sprint race win for Casey Kerwin. And well, he's delighted with that, although he doesn't show it on his face. But the rest of them coming through then. Pulpo Lopez second ahead of Pablo Vicente. That battle stayed as it was then. Basically ahead of Straddy, ahead of Kenny 500. And while we're just waiting for the final couple of cars to come across the line, Storm Molina just about to cross the line now as Bell makes it to the line there. And Grizzle has just got the final couple of corners to go before he finishes this race. Let's just take you through then your provisional race results then here for the sprint race of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars powered by iRacing. And while it was Casey Kerwin then who was the winner in that race, eventually the graphic will come up on screen once the buttons have been pressed. As the Papa Lopez finished in second place, 1.5 seconds behind then at the end. There we go. It's up on screen now. Pablo Vicente in third ahead of Quirk. Samsoid just making that gap over Basic Ollie. Straddy right behind him. And Kenny 500 not that far back in 8th. Tony Kanan 9th ahead of Daniel Gray in 10th. And it's drivers who had a couple of issues out there. Sol Molina dropping down the order in 11th ahead of Grizzle, who had issues, and Love 46. Lap 1 incursion means that she'll be starting from the very front of the grid. So there we go, Arjuna. That was the sprint race of our All-Stars, and well, 2 of our drivers are joining us for a little bit of a chat.
We have first and second from the sprint race, Casey Kerwin, the Pulpo Lopez joining us now. And Casey, I'll start with you. Back in the prototype world at Spa, did it feel like being back in a familiar friend?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 99% of the stuff I do on the road side of things is in a prototype in the GTPs. So, yeah, that's obviously suits me well. And yeah, I really like the new Spa since we've gotten the update to it a few months ago or whatever that was. So, yeah, really enjoyable. And Pablo's both Pablos are really quick, and David's quick as well. Worked. So, yeah, coming from the back here will be entertaining.
I mean, the Pulpo Lopez, what could you have done at the start of that race to try and put more pressure on Casey? It just seemed as though he timed the start and you kind of then had to defend from those behind into turn number 1.
That was exactly what had happened, but I couldn't do anything more. I mean, he is the one dictating the start. I have to react. Otherwise, we follow maybe the lights if we do a contract like that. But it was impossible to follow Casey closely. He did 2 mistakes in the bus stop. I closed the gap a little bit, but in this car is unbeatable, man.
Well, the one equalizing factor that we have is the full invert, so that's going to be interesting. Casey, what do you think we should expect from trying to carve your way from the back of the field?
Probably a little bit of chaos in T1, and then it'll probably be pretty exciting down the backstretch. The first lap with all the draft and everyone fanning out. So, yeah, we'll see. It's I think everyone honestly is pretty close on pace, and I think in the draft trains and in dirty air, it's going to be pretty tough to kind of carve your way through the field. So hopefully Pablo survives with us this time. He's been killed the past 2 weeks, I think, in the features. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Well, you heard it from Casey himself. Expect chaos on the opening lap, Paul.
I hope not. I hope we get a nice, clean start. But yeah, if it's going to be chaos, then Casey, ever the opportunist, will be the one to work his way through. Let's get ourselves to our starting grid for this main race then. 25 minutes of action, and it's Love 46 and Grizzle sharing the front row of the grid. Sol Molina with Daniel Gray on row number 2, with Tony Kanan and Kenny 500 on the 3rd row. Row number 4 for Straddy and Basic Ollie. They'll continue their fight from that sprint race. Samsung and Quirk with Pablo Vicente and Papa Lopez. And rounding up the rear of the field, Casey Kerwin on row number 7. Well, the drivers getting themselves set once again. And, well, we've got about 20 seconds, Arjuna. I'm saying nothing. I'm not predicting anybody because we saw what happened last week.
Paul, you just had to curse. Love 46. What I'll do is say, I think it's going to be difficult for Casey to work his way forward from the back. Don't forget to head to iRacing.com to learn more. New memberships are 40% off if you want to jump into the world of iRacing and experience the thrill of Spa. And I really loved what Casey said, Paul. This new version of Spa's got some quirks relative to the quote-unquote older version, so it's not just been like a graphical update, it's very much changed the way that you approach the racetrack.
And there's enough of Quirk on the track as well as we go through there.
Second today, Paul. Second dad joke of the day.
Hey, I'm 40. That's what's expected nowadays. As we get ourselves set then for 25 minutes of action in our Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars, powered by iRacing. Paul Smith, Arjuna Kankapati, bringing you all of the action here today. And don't forget, 40 minutes time. It's time for the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. But right now, our All-Stars getting themselves prepared for this race. And Love 46 will be the one who controls this race start. Will she jump early, or will she just wait, bide her time? Oh, she's waiting. She's waiting. Still waiting. Everybody was hoping that now they're fanning out, and it's green flag racing here in the main race. 4, 5 wide, heading in towards turn number 1. And well, Casey Kerwin promised us chaos, and chaos is what we have got. Daniel Gray turned around, Grizzle turned around as well. The Papa Lopez has been spun at La Source. Well, it's 3 at the front. Love 46, Storm Molina and Stradi, they're laughing because they got away clear.
Stradi had a great start as well. He saw all the chaos, went up the inside and picked his way up 4 positions, wanted to make it 5, but didn't have the opportunity into the braking zone. Basic Ollie strips a spot away from Samsoid as well as they reach the top of the track. But it's Love 46 from Storm Molina running 1 and 2. How long's that going to last? 25 minutes to go. Stradi dives up the inside.
Yeah, Storm Molina just got a wheel into the gravel. That slowed her down on the exit of Malmedy and through the left-hander at Speaker's Corner. Oh, there's a car just stepping out there as Basic Ollie now to the inside. And well, Storm Molina is in a bit of a storm right now. It's got Samsoid there, and also Pablo Vicente is involved in this one as well through Lafania chicane. And well, Storm Molina stems the bleeding for now as Pablo Vicente looking to move forward. And around the outside at Campus, nice move from Pablo as at Kenny 500 now looking to move forward through Stavalo.
And now climbing all the way up towards Blanchimont, which you talked about dirty air. High-speed left-hand kink, this is where you're going to be feeling that aero wash, probably at its most, even with the downforce that you have. And he slides a little bit out wide, but still has an opportunity to lunge up the inside. And so Storm Molina went from this lap starting P3, going to end it P7, and maybe make that P8 up towards turn number 1. Because I get the sense Casey Kerwin's going to lunge up the inside and continue the pain up through the braking zone.
I mean, Casey Kerwin managed to avoid all of that chaos at La Source at the start of that race. Here we go then. Let's have a look at the replay, Arjuna, because it was chaos.
And just look Stradi on the inside. He's kept clean, which is kind of where you want to be. On the inside, you've always got a chance of staying out of it. Daniel Gray and Grizzle just get tagged. It's the smallest little bit of contact as well. So innocuous, but it does such big damage. And now that you've got that gravel on the outside, Paul, you don't have a natural funneling place to kind of go to without losing a bunch of speed. Keep that in mind for the Super Cup, because we're going to see the very same thing, but with 30 cars and people desperate for points in the fight for $200,000.
Yeah, it was just the slightest of touches on Daniel Gray from Tony Kanaan, and that's what caused it. At the front of the field, Love 46 has got Stradi right behind through double gauche then, and heading up towards Lafania chicane once again. 46, look at the focus right now. Well, I say look at the focus, busy talking away with chat as well. Yeah, I can't do that. If anybody has ever watched me stream on a Friday night on iRacing, you'll know that I cannot drive and talk at the same time.
See, the interesting thing is there's 2 sides of it, right? Because historically, people always talked about Michael Schumacher being able to do engineering problems with one half of his brain while still running world-beating lap times with the other half of his brain, right? So some people have that capability, but even at the top level, there's other people that I've talked to who just say, no, I need people to not talk in my ear, and as Kimi Räikkönen would say, let me do my business. I know what I'm doing. So I'm in the camp where I like a little bit of distraction, Paul, but I'm also someone that likes listening to music while I drive and practice. So
if I'm doing say a 2 hour, 3 hour stint in an endurance race, I need somebody there to bounce off of, to talk to. Absolutely, I need just somebody there. One, to race engineer, but also two, just to be able to keep me sane. But in a sprint race and in an intense race where you, like last night, I was racing at Daytona International Speedway on the road course in touring cars. We were going 3-4 wide across the stripe. I needed to focus. There was no talking needed to be going on in that world.
I won't say who it was, but I was talking to a driver in the real world who said they put an AirPod in one ear and their regular radio sort of earpiece in the other. They can listen to music while they race. Again, I won't say who it is. Might get them in trouble, because if that other earpiece dies, then they're falling foul of the regulations that they have a radio contact point, right? But anyway, that's another story. Look at the focus, by the way, on some of these drivers' faces, Paul. We're 5 minutes in, 3 or so laps running now into the race, and Dirty Air has played its part to the point where 5-6 cars stacked up at the front, and no one really making any moves.
I think this is where a few of these drivers towards the back of this queue of traffic is thinking, I need somebody to make a mistake in front of this queue and to try and get through there in this one. Arjuna, well, we've been joined by some friends.
Yes, so Pablo Vicente's joined us now. We'll distract him a little bit. Pablo, you said that this is not your favorite car, but you finished third in that first race.
It's not my favorite car, but it's my favorite track. So, you know, it's more important track of the car. I think on this track,
there's a lot of focuses.
I can fight, but I have Casey Kirwan behind, you know. I have to be full focus, but let's fight. I hope I can finish top 3.
We've also got Samsoid in the chat as well. Samsoid, how's it going for you as you sit up there in 4th?
I have Pablo behind me, so yes, trying my best. It was a chaos start. We're up 5 positions, so I'm just going to maximize it, even though the fast guys are behind me.
Talk to us about Dirty Air. How much is Aero Wash impacting you here, Samsoid?
Driving lines wise, it's fine. It is just abusing the tyres, but holding on to it with this much grip is fine. It's more how much you're willing to abuse your tyres for this race length. You're going to be a bit of a sitting duck on the last couple of laps.
So Pablo, you're 5th right now. What? I thought we were going to ask Pablo where he's going to finish, but I think we're going to let him focus for a little bit. So, Samson, let's focus in on you for a little bit more. Podium's still up for grabs in front of you. What's your hope from this race?
Let's be realistic. Maximum 5th. I'm hoping 4th, 5th. Yeah, these guys behind are going to get by, but maybe I can clear Love before that happens, and then Ollie and my pace are the same. Estrada's been absolutely cooking, so. We're going to finish 6th, maximum 5th, unless there's any calamities.
You just got to find the world's widest Porsche 963. Always great to chat to Pablo, to David Samsoid as well, Paul. I mean, you could hear the stress on Pablo's little chat that we had with him. And let's not forget, English is not his first language. We always feel a little bit bad for him having to try and focus and drive at the same time.
And that's it, exactly right. You know, you could see just the focus going into braking zones. The focus going on through here as well is that Straddy and Pacey Colley, whilst we were chatting, have moved up into 1st and 2nd places. And Love 46 in 3rd right now has got a hard charge in Pablo Vicente with Samsoid. Casey Kerwin's right on the tail of David now. With Kenny 500 not that far back either, and the Pulpo Lopez. Fastest lap of the race so far here for the Pulpo Lopez. So he is trying to move forward and get back onto the back of these drivers after his calamities at La Source at the start.
Pulpo Lopez has not been able to make moves as efficiently, though, as Casey, which is why he's been a little bit more hung back there. Has had clean air, which has maybe actually helped him get that fastest lap. Look backwards from Storm Molina as Quirk starts to put the pressure on. Where's the cap gone, though? Co-pilot's no longer giving assistance, Paul. That's where the pressure really starts to build, when you no longer have your furry friend.
Can we have less talk about co-pilot after my experiences at work this week as we go through? But yeah, Bell's lost the race engineer, so she's there on her own. That might explain why she's fallen down the order a little bit here, Arjuna. Losing that race engineer, that moral support, if nothing else. Yeah, that's not good for Belle, but she's still having fun out there in Quirk. Tell you what, can't get past her, but Belle's doing a good job.
All I'll say is, when I had my pup, it was always distracting when he would come in. It'd be nice when he'd sit down next to me and just relax for a little bit, and then distracting when he'd had enough of the moaning of me behind the wheel and decided to leave the room. So maybe actually there's some speed lost in the distraction as well. Pablo Vicente with a big send around the outside grabs third away from Love 46 Paul. And so 15 minutes left to go. I think Sam Soyd was quite correct. Fifth is realistically the highest he's going to get. Question will be for Casey Kerwin, sixth behind. How much more patient is Kerwin going to be?
Not very, because he's made the move straight away into Lasore, so Sam Soyd didn't stand a chance there in that one. Drops down behind Casey Kerwin, who's now focused on the gearbox of Love 46 through the Eau Rouge Radion section. I do recommend, if you ever get to see prototype racing here at Spa, do stand at the bottom of Eau Rouge Radion, because it is spectacular the speed that those cars can take through that section of track, and they do it all race long. As out into the gravel there went Sam Soyd on the exit of Malmedy, and Casey Kerwin is looking to the outside of Brussels, and he's got the job done.
Very nicely done as well. Does go wide and maybe grabbing off track for his troubles as well, but got enough time, I think, to put the pressure on. Ooh, Sam Soyd had to watch behind as Kenny 500 almost tried a bit of a desperation send down towards the double gauche. Not necessarily a passing opportunity, a high-speed, committed left-hander. It's going to be curious now. Pablo Vicente, Casey Kerwin, they've cleared Love 46. 2 odd seconds behind Basic Ollie, who, guess what? Let's go and have a chat with the man who sits in second place right now. Basic Ollie, how are you feeling here at Spa?
Oh, I'm feeling like the luckiest man in the world after that start. I can't lie to you, boys. I'm a very happy man. I'm not quite sure I'm here, but I'll take it, let me tell you.
1 second behind Stratty, but you know, you've got now Pablo Vicente, Casey Kerwin behind you with 13 minutes to go. Are you looking forward or are you looking backwards?
I'm looking to see who I can bribe to get the timer to go down a lot quicker, to be honest. That's what I'm looking at.
Mr. Tag Heuer, where are you? Basic Ollie, how big's your wallet, Basic Ollie?
It's big enough. Money's not an object, just do it.
There we go, we'll figure it out. Okay, talk to us, Spa 963, because it's the last time you'll be in this prototype until we end the season at Le Mans.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, these aren't, it's tough for me. I can't quite understand this car with my driving style, but I'm trying my best. Spa as well has never been a strong point for me, so the combo of them aren't great. So my mindset for this is just head down, concentrate, and see what you can do, kind of thing. But yeah, the cars drive very well here. It's just the guy behind the wheel is struggling rather than anything else. But yeah, it is a good combo, that is for sure.
We have a term for that in software, PEBCAP. Problem exists between keyboard and computer. It's the interface that's controlling it that sometimes has the problems. Let's talk a bit about as well the fact that 3 back-to-back weeks. Are you looking forward to a bit of a break from Porsche All-Stars, and we'll return in March with 2 more very interesting rounds and some interesting tracks as well? I think we might have lost Basic Ollie there for a second.
Sorry.
Focus.
That's my bad. I didn't know you were talking to me. Yeah. Some interesting combos. I know we're going to bring the Porsche Cup back, aren't we? So that'll be interesting. That's always spicy in this series when we get the Porsche Cup back. So yeah, I don't believe we've got the GT4 though, do we? If we don't have the GT4, then I might have a chance of doing well this year. GT4 is certainly my kryptonite. But yeah, as long as we have the peak up, I think I'll be okay. But either way, it's going to be a spicy last 4 rounds, let me tell you.
No GT4. We've got Thruxton and Sachsenring to look forward to, but Basic Ollie, thanks for having a chat with us. We'll let you go. 11 minutes to hold on to second with Pablo Vicente, Casey Kerwin, Paul, really starting to close up.
Yeah, they certainly are giving him a bit of pressure from behind. Stratty, though, I mean, fair credit to him, has had a really, really solid round here. You look at him, okay, it was 7th place in that first race, but Straddy seems to have a bit of pace around this track.
Flying, as one of the drivers we chatted to earlier was calling out as well, definitely seems to have things hooked up, and so Basic Ollie holds up Pablo and Casey. He could enable Straddy to break away with the win here. Samsoid's going to cut back underneath Love 46 as we hit the top of the Kemmel straight, and watch Quirk and the Pulpo Lopez try and follow through as well. Opportunistic pass and no second invitation needed for the Pulpo Lopez.
Yeah, ever the opportunist, the Pulpo Lopez there, working his way through. As we say, got involved in that incident at the very start of the race, and into the gravel. Kenny 500 and Love 46 touching side by side into No Name Corner, or Speaker's Corner as it's known now. And wow, it was Love 46 into the gravel. Do you know what? A couple of years ago, that would have been just tarmac runoff.
Exactly. A couple of years ago, like you said, it also would have been No Name's Corner. A couple of years before that, who knows? It would have maybe been called something else. Corner names at Spa, they're a suggestion more than anything.
Jackie X Corner. It's been called Jackie X Corner as well.
Again, corner names are a suggestion here, because you'll come back next year and you'll be like, ooh, that's changed. The year after that, ooh, that's changed. It's interesting as a commentator. Paul and I had to agree on which track map to use coming into the start of the day. That's not going to be a defense from David Samsoid. He recognized the Pulpo Lopez as faster, and now 9 minutes to go up into the top 5. I don't think he's done just yet in the 5:04.
As we head across the line then, as you say, 9 minutes remaining in this one, and Straddy Basic Ollie about a second and a half between them, but Pablo Vicente has closed up to about 6/10 off of Basic Ollie in second place, so keep an eye on them. On the bottom of your screen, the Super Cup drivers are in practice right now. They're getting themselves prepared. Make sure you stick around, because in 23 minutes, as that clock says in the bottom right-hand corner, these drivers will be getting themselves going. And the best news of all, our junior, is we don't have to get the heat-seeking goggles out, because we've got no fog today.
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't broken out my CSI Miami goggles trying to figure out who that is working around the track. It's a nice change of pace from the weather we had last time out. And again, third round of the triple header pool. So I think for these drivers in the Super Cup, as compared to maybe the All-Stars, they're here, have a bit of fun. Yes, there's some competitive element around it as well. But 3 back-to-back weeks at this level of racing, for the Super Cup, Brian Lockwood a couple of years ago, let's not forget, he once said 70 hours of practice went into the first round of the championship. Now imagine doing that for 3 consecutive weeks. That's more than a 9-to-5 job, certainly more than I work at my job, 9 to 5. Don't tell my boss that, though.
I mean, a 9-to-5 job, you're talking, what, about 42 hours there with a 9-to-5 job. So then you add on another 30 hours on top of that. That is the level of prep that some drivers have to go to. The thing is, it's not just fatigue from a physical fatigue standpoint, but it's also mental fatigue, isn't it? I was speaking to a few years ago at the Nürburgring, Kevin Ellis Jr., former Porsche Tagore Esports Super Cup race winner, and he said, I asked him, I said, we see you on camera and you just won a race and you just no emotion. And he goes, I've driven the track that many times, that many laps around that track, that I have no emotion about it. It was just the job done.
Sometimes it's just relief that they feel as well, yeah. Right? It's more than anything. Might have some fun though in this fight for second as they all just concertina up towards the top of Les Combes once again. Basic Ollie still holding on though quite well. You got to wonder as well for Casey. That's why I love his attitude, right? He is at the top level of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, but he maybe self-deprecatingly describes himself as a streamer who sometimes goes and races quite seriously.
and wins championships.
Occasionally.
Yeah, it's not a bad effort at all for him to be able to do that. And well, Arjuna, we get to speak to more of our drivers and to get their thoughts, not put them off, honest.
With Quirk, we just need a Dragon TK, and then suddenly they put each other off. But Quirk, how's things going for you in 9th position right now? Some clean air in front of you for the time being.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you guys way back here at the end of the field. It's going great.
It must be lonely down there, but 2 seconds off the tail end of Love 46. You got, I think, 2 more laps to go at the end of this lap. I mean, it's been an interesting race for you, to say the least, like you say, involved in some contact here and there.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look at the replay. I really have no idea what happened on T1 there. I went pretty wide, hoping that I could, maybe avoid some of the contact, because I had a feeling things were going to get a little feisty there, and just couldn't. I think everyone kind of got pushed over into me, so it was a bad decision.
It's the danger of the gravel on the outside, right? Kind of takes away somewhere that you can go and run without losing too much speed.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of weeks off before we return, but in the Cup car, Quirk, so are you looking forward to stripping out ABS and traction control and heading back into a sports car?
Yeah, I am. I think we'll see some more spins and crashes. It'll be great. No, I love the Cup car. It's a very challenging car, and it's always nice that it's a car that can humble you. But when you get it right, it feels great,
Well, you're chasing down Love 46, so let's go have a chat with Love 46 as we head into the final 4 odd minutes of the race. Love 46 joins us now in the broadcast booth. There's plenty of things happening, but it was an interesting start to this main race, to say the least, for you, Love 46.
Yeah, it was a really good start for me, so just pulling away from everybody, but unfortunately I don't have that good pace as people who is in front of me right now, but still decent race. So I hope to finish on P8 ahead of Quirk.
And I think you've said in the past that Spa's one of your favorite track to drive around, right? So how's the combo been with this setup? We've been wondering, is there some dirty air sometimes with the fixed setup that everyone's racing with?
Well, a little bit of dirty air, of course, as we're driving the GTPs, but I'm so happy with this choice of car and track because GTPs use this track in a nice way.
Couple of weeks off and then we return with the Cup car. Are you looking forward to heading into that machine?
Yes, I'm looking forward to Porsche Cup. Also will be new tracks for me, so I really looking forward and interested of how I can handle new tracks for me.
Well, looking forward to that, Love 46. And 3 minutes ago, let's see if you can hold off Quirk in the fight for 8.
Yeah, thank you.
Paul, this fight for second certainly heating up, but main thing that it's really done, like you and I were saying earlier, allow Stratty to break away with the race lead.
Yeah, Stratty's been able to just work away at the front, and actually Casey and Pablo Vicente side by side through La Source has just allowed Basic Ollie to get a little bit of a gap. Well, now Casey's got right onto the tail of Basic Ollie here, so not much time to rest for Ollie as he goes through the right-hander downhill into Speaker's corner to the left and onto the power again, trying his best to pull all the old James Bond tricks of throwing, well, it would be nails at him, but instead it's gravel here in this race. Casey running a little bit wider through double gauche, so that means that I just think that he's feeling that slip, that draft, that dirty air effect, especially through that quick double left-hander, really showing on the onboard.
The fact that Basic Ollie's been able to hold on, hope he doesn't mind me saying this, I think it does kind of show that dirty air is a significant factor. But with Casey, this is what I was saying during the sprint race, I think he's going to be just that much quicker that once he gets one-on-one, it's okay. When he was 2 back in line, there was enough dirty air that he had to pull some moves to try and find his way forward. See if the Pulpo Lopez, as we head on to this final lap of the race, Paul, is going to be able to do something similarly as well. Should be a rather interesting run up to the top of Lake Com.
Final lap of the race is underway for these drivers. Casey biding his time with Basic Ollie. Look at the run that he gets through. The right-hander at La Source, downhill Now, you don't want to be too close to the car in front when you go into Eau Rouge Radion. You want to be about a tenth, maybe 2 tenths back, and now get the run out the corner. Use the slipstream to your advantage. Up the hill, here comes Kerwin to the outside, up the Camel straight. But Basic Ollie is going to fight all the way to the chicane. Oh my goodness, so close between the two of them, but Kerwin just able to get ahead through Lecombe.
And watch now for the Pulpo Lopez, because I think he's got a chance to at least get past Pablo Vicente. And if he times it well, he might get a run up towards the bus stop chicane and have a fight with Basic Ollie as well. This is a rather interesting end, albeit not at the very front, Paul. That fight allowed another second to be built up, and Stratty is going to be smiling his way to the top step of the podium.
Yeah, this is absolutely fantastic for Stratty. Not always being the driver at the front of the field, but taking advantage of the situation here today. But Casey Kerwin said it might be tricky to come through the field. Well, he's there in second place right now, doing a superb job. But the driver that you're seeing on screen right now, we've barely shown him throughout this race, Arjuna. Stratty, what a performance.
And you can see right now, he's pumped up. He's just waiting to come across the line, Paul, and let all that emotion out. Can't wait to see it. A new race winner in the Porsche All-Stars.
Through the right, through the left at the chicane, and Stratty takes the main race victory here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports All-Stars. Look at the smile. He's delighted with that. Absolutely sensational stuff from Stratty at the front. Casey Kerwin up 11 places into second place, and Basic Ollie rounding out your top three. Final few cars coming to the line. Storm Molina able to hold off Tony Kanaan right at the end.
What a great prelude to our return to the Super Cup at Spa, Paul. A new race winner at the very front, and plenty for us to talk about.
As we're heading to the Loctite post-race show then, let's take you through your provisional race results then for week number 3, main race here at Spa-Francorchamps, as we then take a look at that. So Stratty is your winner by 3.3 seconds. The Spaniard, a great result for him. Casey Kerwin in second, ahead of Basic Ollie in third. Pablo Vicente able to hold on into fourth place ahead of the Pulpo Lopez. Then Samsoid ahead of Kenny 500. Love 46, Quirk and Storm Molina in 10th. Tony Kanaan gets to the end in 11th in a very battered and bruised car. Grizzle 12th, and then Daniel Gray retires from the race. So hopefully we do get to speak to a couple of our drivers from that race very quickly as we get ourselves ready for the Super Cup in about 12 minutes time, Arjuna, as we've got our race winner.
I'm not sure how comfortable he is speaking English, but Stratty, racing is a universal language. How happy are you to have won at Spa? Stratty, do you have a copy?
Yes.
How happy are you to have won at Spa?
I'm very happy for this first win in the Porsche All-Star from 2 seasons ago. I'm very happy, very happy. Was totally unexpected for me.
You say unexpected, but some of the other drivers are saying that you were very quick. How comfortable did you feel at Spa with the 963?
I'm very quick in the second race, but I don't know how.
Well, congratulations, Stratty. Can't wait to see you more, hopefully here in our Loctite post-race show as part of our Porsche All-Stars.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sports. Thank you very much.
Always great to hear from our drivers. And well, we have really not got a lot of time remaining here for the All-Stars. A great result then for Casey Kerwin in the sprint race. But Stratty, a little tip of the hat from me, Arjuna, for him at the front.
Absolutely. And, you know, Spa's one of those classic tracks, right? Everyone kind of knows it. You know its general form and flow. But with this 963, I think we were kind of expecting dirty air to be less of a factor, Paul. So that's something that we'll take away and look forward to maybe at Le Mans when we return to this 963. But now 3 more rounds with the Porsche Cup car, the GT3R, to look forward to for these All-Stars.
Yeah, as we take ourselves next time to the Sachsenring on March the 8th. So the drivers get 3 weeks break before getting themselves ready back behind the wheel. But you want to stick around, everybody, because coming up after this it is going to be the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. Can Sebastian Job get another race win here this week? Let's find out. We head to Italy, week number 2 of this championship for the Autodromo del Mugello. Misty and murky conditions for the drivers here.
Oh, Luca Kita got a bit scared there.
Sander Reed, one little mistake. Caruso to the inside for the win. Jordan Caruso, sprint race win. Pinto gets a great launch at the right-hander. Thank you very much, Sebastian Job. Job getting the run out of the corner there. Job's got the inside, sensational stuff. Sebastian Job, winner here in 2025. Well, we head from Italy to Belgium for week number 3 of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup here at Spa-Francorchamps. What an exciting round it was last time at Mugello, and well, Spa-Francorchamps promises to be even more of a thrill ride. Paul Smith and Arjuna Kankapati here on commentary, and it was a great week last week. This week could be even better.
I think we're expecting 3 wide. At least a bit more than what we saw from the All-Stars with these Porsche Cup cars at Spa. We haven't been here in a couple of years, Paul, and so already some unknowns, I think, in some ways for these drivers. But Spa is that relative expected thing that drivers know they've got to try and get to grips with at least once a year.
Yeah, absolutely. 2023 was the last time that we headed here. Well, Arjuna, you're standing by with a very special guest for us, Tony Kanaan.
And for once, we're not bugging TK during a race. So TK, I see a big smile on your face. How much fun did you have with the All-Stars in the Porsche 963?
You know, lately you could interview me during the race. I'm so slow that it doesn't matter. But Spa is always, it's awesome. I mean, it's one of my favorite racetracks. I had the pleasure to race there a couple times when I was in Europe racing back in '93. A lot of you guys probably were not even born then. And then I came back with the Ford GT when we had the program. So always puts a smile on my face. It doesn't matter what position we finish. Obviously, we get competitive, but awesome place to race, always.
What are you expecting from our drivers in the Super Cup then? What sort of challenges do you think that they have to face, especially knowing, TK, the one thing that I think is so unique about racing in the sim world is one lap qualifying. It's do or die in some ways for these drivers.
Yeah, I think actually you nailed it. They're going to have to nail qualifying. It's a track that, although it's a long track, it's hard to pass, right? There's a lot of long-lasting corners with not enough hard braking zones. And the 2 braking zones, it's kind of risky. So I would say qualifying, and of course the off tracks. It's something that with the slowdown. So we'll see. I mean, I think the qualifying would dictate quite a bit the track position in the race.
Well, TK, we'll let you go and relax a little bit and watch on. Always great to catch up with you. We'll see you in a few weeks' time.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, always good to hear from Tony to get his thoughts on this one. So here we are then. It's the end of a 3-week triple header, Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for these drivers before they have a 3-week break for the mid-season tournament at the Sachsenring. And then the final 3 rounds of the championship, well, it's another triple header. Thruxton, Fuji, and the Circuit de 24 de Mans for these drivers to take apart. April the 12th is when we finish the season. This season has flown by already. And the drivers, well, Arjuna, you mentioned it. 1 lap qualifying for them here in just 8 minutes. A 6-lap sprint race with the top 8 inverted for the main race. And then the main race, 12 laps in length. And a track, Arjuna, that's, well, we saw the All-Stars having fun, but this one is going to be so competitive.
Absolutely. You know, everyone talks about Eau Rouge and Radion. That's going to be a tricky point, I think, to navigate on this race start. We've seen some too wide and in disaster there. I think the other thing to keep in mind is Blanchimont. If you get a poor run out of Campus and Stavelo, wheel to wheel, it's so easy to find yourself off into the marbles. Could be a big factor in the 7-kilometer, 19 turns that make up Spa-Francorchamps as we talk through our Tag Heuer track analysis. Last time we were here in 2023, Jordan Caruso grabbed the main race win. It's going to be very interesting how things play out with that top 8 invert between our sprint and our main race.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, for his 2nd ever time on pole position, Mitchell de Jong, what a qualifying it was for him. And Arjuna, you've got our pole sitter.
Mitchell, your 2nd career pole in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels great. Really fun to be back in the series. And yeah, I had no idea how many poles I had before, so good to know. That's the 2nd. Yeah, it was a pretty solid lap. Pretty casual, to be honest, just nice and clean, nothing super special, but yeah, nice surprise. The times are so close here, it's insane, so happy to be on the good end of it.
It's still early in the championship, you know, end of a triple header to open things up. How are you rating your return to the Super Cup ranks?
To be honest, I really enjoy it. The testing has been really fun. It's quite dynamic these days with the wind changes and stuff that we have in the sim. So yeah, I'm really enjoying my time here, just kind of taking it one race at a time. Obviously the series is so competitive, so even though you could have amazing practice, you can still have something go slightly wrong in the race like I had last week in qualifying. So is what it is. Keep moving forward.
Well, we'll let you go, although I did note, Paul, look at the wall behind him. Mitchell's got a Porsche rim, not the one that's on his sim rig.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also got a map of Spa-Francorchamps next to that as well. So there's some omens for you right now. I can tell you, half a second covers the entirety of our 30-car grid. Mitchell de Jong and Cooper Webster sharing the front row of the grid with Tristan Iglesias and his teammate Kevin Nielsen, row number 2. Chris Lullen and Johan Harp sharing the 3rd row of the grid. And Luke McEwen and Luca Kita with Alejandro Sanchez and Sebastian Joe. Be interested to see their battle throughout this race. Florian Lebigra and Gustavo Ariel to round out row number 6. 7th row for Jordan Caruso and Xander Reed with Marina Sarica and Alessandro Bico on row number 8. He was our last sprint race winner here in 2023 with Bico. Daniel Pashto and Elvis Rankin on row number 9. 10th row of the grid then for Diogo Pinto and Michael Gianni with Julian Sonnen and also Oscar Pai. Nicholas Mateo and Beckham Jusia rounding out the 12th row of the grid. Final 3 rows of the grid then, Will Chadwick and Sam Kiter, Carlos Fonalosa and Bryn Collins, Elliot Veyron and Josh Thompson rounds out your 30-car grid. And as I mentioned, Arjuna, it was 0.53 of a second covering all 30 cars. Mitchell said how close and tight it was out there. That is incredibly close.
A 1/10 of a second covers 13, right? And so it goes back to that pressure I talked about with TK in the 1-lap qualifying. We know you need to be at the front to try and stay out of trouble. And Paul, at a lap as long as Spa, that is significant, right? A 1/10 of a second around Spa is different than a 1/10 of a second around Lime Rock. Around a 50-second lap versus a 2-minute lap, it's a very different margin that you're playing at the top level of sim racing.
Well, the drivers are getting themselves ready. They're on the grid. And we're all set then for 6 laps of action here in the sprint race of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. Engine revs rise. And we go racing here at Spa. Great launch from Mitchell de Jong at the front of the field. Cooper Webster slotting in behind him as Tristan Iglesias tries to go around the outside. 3 wide. further back through La Source as we then go plunging downhill towards Eau Rouge Radion for the first time in this race. Through the left and then the right, up over the top of the rise. Cold tyres, remember, so the driver's having to contend with that. And the worst thing that you can do is get a slow down penalty on this first lap. So the drivers are going to have to be careful here. But so far, so good, Arjuna, although a little bit of defensive driving from Kevin Nielsen,
who had a poor start, got jumped by Lallem into turn 1, and so now a bit on the defense as they sweep their way through Malmedy. I'm quite surprised to say, single file through the top 20, although now we start to see some drivers go defensive, and so Sebastian Job, number 1 on the side of the defending champions car, 10th position right now, Paul. He's only thinking one thing, we've surely got to be thinking inverted pole, finish 8th position, start the main race from the very front.
What you've got to hope is that everybody can keep close together and in the queue, because if there's any sort of breakaway happen at the front of the field, then there's going to be gaps form out there. It's close stuff all the way through the field as we head into Lefania. Alec Veyron at the very back of the grid. Will Chadwick's dropped down the order to the penultimate place as we look towards the rear of our field. At the front though, Mitchell de Jong has a 0.3 of a second lead over Cooper Webster, with Tristan Iglesias third place. But Chris Lulham, I'll tell you what, I think he's going to have a bit between his teeth here today.
Very good start from Lulham as well. As that's a interesting use of track limits as he tries to open up the run in towards Blanchimont. But this is what it gives him a chance to try and set up a move on Iglesias. 17 incident points, Paul, across 6 laps. If you're not making wheel-to-wheel, door-to-door contact with your competitors, expect to see some egregious things with track limits, as I think that's Alejandro Sanchez, points leader, who's going defensive from Sebastian Job, 3 wide to turn 1.
Oh, Job's there on the inside. Keita's got nowhere to go, and Sanchez is squeezed onto the gravel. Beautiful stuff from the champion of last year. Elvis Rankin is off into the gravel in the background of shot there, but Sebastian Job gets himself up into 8th place from 10th in one move, Arjuna.
And now, ideally, he finishes right there. The extra points of getting to 7th, not worth losing the reverse grid pole. He's got to watch out, though. He's got a feisty Spaniard dancing up the inside once again. You can carry the momentum around the outside. These two have tangled at this corner before in history, but around the outside, here comes Florian Lebigra to try and help Sebastian Job hold on to 8th.
Lebigra contact with Sanchez as they're heading towards Brussels. And Lebigra had an awful week last week at Mugello. We're on board with Caruso, remember, race winner last time out in the sprint race for Jordan. Well, he's on the outside looking in 13th place as we head on down to Double Gauche once again. And Caruso, just a sight of focus behind the wheel. There's contact ahead. Oh my goodness, it's almost... Who's going where? We don't know. Sanchez and Lebigra carrying on their fight.
And I don't even know how race control is going to view that one, right? Down through Pouon, like I said earlier, it's not a passing opportunity, a bit of contact, and it slows them down. Paul, we said this was going to be a race filled with madness. Look at the gap that has been built. Sebastian Job has now got 1.5 seconds on Alejandro Sanchez. He is going to hold on to 8th comfortably, you'd have to assume. What's going to happen? First, second, third, and fourth, though, because Cooper Webster leads, but for how much longer?
Yeah, of course, everything's reviewed post-event, so we don't get live decisions happen. At the front, de Jong's lost the lead to Cooper Webster, and Lulham is fighting at the front with him as we continue this fight on screen right now. Great battling in the mid-pack. At the front though, Cooper Webster, remember, your main race winner at Daytona. He currently leads this race, and in second place, it's who is it going to be? Is it going to be Lulham, or is it going to be de Jong? Lulham for the time being, and here comes Tristan Iglesias.
And I think this might even give the points lead to Webster before we've headed into the main race. So never trust Arjuna's math. commentators' math in general, pretty unreliable, but Webster has got to be thought of as a championship favorite in many ways at this point, Paul, because consistency, that's what we need to see from drivers. A third round in a row, he's up at the front and playing for the points.
Remember, the sprint race, for a race winning sprint, it's half the points that you get for a main race win. Florian Lebigra has had a bit of an issue through Le Combe into Malmedy, and there down the inside goes Moreno Sarica, rather unceremoniously just bang in the door. Thank you very much, I'm coming through, but Lebigra says, no sunshine, not quite going your way, and it's just a queue of cars behind him right now. And this is the problem, Arjuna. You start fighting here, you allow others to pull away in front.
We know, though, the Verstappen.com car is quick. Just look at Lullum up front. And so Florian Lebigra definitely is going to have some impetus to try and work his way forward. He's sandwiched, though. Williams in front, Williams behind. Opportunity for Sam Coitet, Diogo Pinto to bully their way past Bico, who gets shoved off into the gravel. That's a bit aggressive from the 44, the Portuguese driver, who's now left on the outside, sweeping up towards Stavolo.
Yeah, former champion Diogo Pinto, remember, he's not really been involved in the championship fight properly since he won that championship. So he's wanting to get involved in this one, comes into this round in third place, but with it being a short season, Arjuna, you've got to take advantage of points at every opportunity.
And we know Diogo's still got that championship mindset in him, right? He won the IndyCar Pro Series here on iRacing at the end of last year as well. So still winning at the top level and winning across of iRacing special events as well. Question will be, back here in the world of the Super Cup, which is ever evolving, Sebastian Job and Alejandro Sanchez amongst those that have continued to be at the front consistently season on season. Can Diogo, heading into that mid-season tournament in a few weeks' time, find a bit more momentum on his side? Because Paul, like you said, short season, now that we move this Porsche Esports Super Cup down to the 7-event schedule, less time for you to make up from any mistakes.
And remember as well, we've got a mid-season tournament coming up as well, which can throw a wrench in the works as well if you don't get into that main race. Chris Lullum then, we're on board with him, and he is actually closing up to Cooper Webster right now in this race, as we've reached the halfway point of this opening race of the evening. De Jong is not that far back, so don't write him out of this one yet. But Lullum, well, if he is able to make it to the front of the field, it would be his first ever sprint win. He's never won a single race as Chris Lullum in this championship. This is a great opportunity for him.
Problem is, Webster's not going to sit down and let this one be a cakewalk. 2 laps to go next time by. So Lullum's going to take, I'd say, another half a lap at the very least to close up a little bit, to get close enough to really have a shot at making a move. Meanwhile, speaking of moves, Sebastian Job in front now of Luke McEwen. So Job will start second in our inverted top 8 main race when that gets underway. And Paul, remember, there's points paid out in qualifying, there's points paid out in the sprint race, and points paid out in the main race. The maximum that you can get is 85 points from any single championship week. Already, the top 10 starting to verge on 85 points off of the leader, Cooper Webster, who runs up front.
Yeah, there you go. There's the live championship standings on the right-hand side of your screen. As things stand right now, Cooper Webster would have a 13-point lead over Alejandro Sanchez with Diogo Pinto in third. Sebastian Job, who had a round to beget in the opening week at Daytona, he's trying to make that comeback. And do you know what? Sebastian and Luke McEwen in the Rafa Racing Club Porsche Esports Pro Cup Great Britain, those two have been at each other pretty much through the entire season. So once again, Job just able to get that one-up on Luke McEwen. McEwen, for his sort of racing mentality, he needs to get one over Sebastian at some point.
I think you're right. There's something to be said about getting at least one victory on arrival. If you're consistently being defeated, it puts you in a negative mind space. Oh, am I good enough to beat this driver? Am I good enough to make the moves when it really counts? And we know Luke is plenty talented. It's just like you say, can he get a little bit more of that confidence on his side? front of the field, it's starting to swing back in favor of De Jong and Tristan Iglesias as well. The Team Indian Racing Festival car right on the bumper of Lullum in second, who's lost some ground to Cooper Webster, if anything, even with the draft helping them through Les Combes. So Paul, 1.5 laps to go, Webster's in control. The draft fight for second is going to be really interesting, and how the teammates might work together.
Well, that's it. I mean, Team Indian Racing Festival is the official name on the door and on the entry, but they are operated out of the Coanda, effectively like in the paddock out of their awning. So they have got a couple of Coanda cars behind them, Tristan Iglesias and Kevin Nielsen. 8th place right now is Luke McEwen. The one benefit of him being in 8th place is that it does give him an inverted grid position of pole position for that main race. We've seen how drivers, when it comes to the main race, have had really good results in the opening 2 weeks of this championship. I think back to Elvis Rankin. Okay, he didn't win the race, but he held on so spectacular at Daytona to get that ended up getting that win. It shows if you started at the front of that main race, you can get yourself a really good point haul.
And so now contrast, right, for Cooper Webster and for Sebastian Job. There's two very different sort of pictures developing, right? Job is going to be thinking more points in the main race. That's my focus. Webster's going to have to fight his way forward if he wants to try and maximize the points on offer, given he's going to be dropped back to 8th. So a lot of really interesting stuff with this format, Paul. It's never simple in the world of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup at the end of the day. And so one final time in the sprint race, climbing over the top of Eau Rouge and Radion, where there was some question marks from the drivers about how much they'd be able to run wide and cut over the top of the crest, but no one's really fallen afoul of that too much. Snaking back and forth in the background, but not many moves being made in the foreground.
Yeah, staying as they are. Meanwhile, Sanchez and Gustavo Ariel battling it out into Les Combes, and Ariel able to keep ahead of Sanchez, and Jordan Caruso trying to get one over Alejandro here in this one as well. Remember, coming into this week, Sanchez was the championship leader, but he's not going to be after this sprint race, that is for sure, as they come plunging downhill into Speaker's Corner then, and onto the power again. You get a great view of the start and finish straight from up on the top of that hill at Speaker's Corner, but at the front, Webster ahead of Lullum. I feel it's all going to come down to that run to the chicane.
And I'm not sure, you mentioned for De Jong and Iglesias, their run under the same awning. Same thing to be said for Webster and Lullum. I'm not sure how much desperation we'll see there. But Paul, just thinking about Sanchez, the mindset that surely he's thinking about right now, not only is he missing out on the invert, he's very much in the danger zone, right? 10th place up to turn 1 on that main race start. It's the stuff of nightmares that will be going through his mind. Very different stories in terms of our championship protagonists here from the Ardennes.
As completely off the track they go into Blanchimont for the final time. And Cooper Webster, in all of his career here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, he's never won a sprint race. Well, you can change that now, because Cooper Webster is a sprint race winner here today at Spa-Francorchamps. Alejandro Sanchez is around. He's dropped down the order to 18th at the final chicane. Drama on this last lap.
And that pain gets even worse for Sanchez. Points leader coming into the race event, Paul, and down to 18th at the time of the checkered flag.
We'll be able to take you through your unofficial race results in just a moment's time. But my goodness, this is absolutely incredible how things can change here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. Cooper Webster then, winner by 0.3 of a second over Chris Lullum, with Mitchell de Jong rounding out the podium. Tristan Iglesias ahead of Johan Haaf, Kevin Nielsen and Sebastian Job, our reigning champion. Luke McEwen finds himself on pole position for the main race, finishing in 8th place ahead of Gustavo Ariel and Jordan Caruso. 11th place then for Luca Kita, ahead of Xander Reed, Marina Sarica and Alessandro Bico. Foreign Labigra in 15th in the end, ahead of Diogo Pinto, with Sam Kaiser and Alejandro Sanchez dropping down the order then into 18th place. As we go further down the field, non-point scorers, pretty much as we expected from the start of that race. Let's take a look then at what happened right at the very end here for Sanchez.
So keep an eye out behind, or maybe in front as well. So he goes to try and look to the inside. Door gets closed on him, and then Jordan Caruso shoves his nose up the inside and barges his way on forward. Remember, we have race control taking a look at things post-race, so there's points penalties that will get handed down for sure, I'm guessing, in one direction there. But ultimately for Sanchez, frustration that a points penalty will not necessarily fully abate. Let's go and have a chat, though, with our race winner. Standing by is the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing driver of Cooper Webster, who might have actually decided to run away. Let's see if we can grab him as he returns to the sim rig just in the nick of time. Throws the headset on to have a chat with us. Super duper Cooper Webster, how are you doing? Your first ever sprint race victory in the Porsche Esports Supercup.
Yeah, that was great. That was really great. Had a great team back there from Chris. Supported me there to get over the line. But again, it's just all about qualifying. I got qualifying right this week and put me in the right spot, and you go, you have a good result.
Talk championship, because that result puts you into the lead of the points. It's still very early. We got the mid-season tournament in a few weeks that could shape things as well. But how are you feeling still early in this campaign?
Yeah, just not thinking about it. That's it. That's the best way. That's thinking about it's not going to do anything to help me drive faster. So I'm just going to not think about it and focus on the things that matter.
Only the commentators think about the silly stuff like that. Talk to us about the main race. What's going to be your expectation of moving your way forward?
I don't know yet, to be honest. It's a bit, it's going to wait and see what happens. But I've done the hard bit now, and it's just about kind of staying where I am. Because I got the points from qualifying and then the most points in the sprint. So just kind of stay up there. That's all I'm trying to do.
You heard the game plan there, Paul. It is all about staying out of trouble and doing what you can.
Yeah, and that's what wins your championship, that is for sure. Here's the live points as things stand after that sprint race, and it's a 22-point lead that Cooper Webster has over Alejandro Sanchez, with Diogo Pinto a further 22 points back from him. Sebastian Job, 51 points up the championship leader, moves ahead of Luke McEwen into the top 4. But Arjuna, that was a race that had plenty go on in that one, but it was a good launch initially from our pole sitter, Mitchell de Jong.
Quite remarkable that all 30 got through turn 1 safely over the top of Rouge and Radion. The battles continued, and it wasn't until end of lap 1 back to La Source that a move for the lead saw things swap around, but we also saw Sebastian Job get aggressive. Elvis Rankin would be off into the gravel as well. Alejandro Sanchez really involved in plenty of the fighting though, Paul, in that Stormforce Racing yellow and black entry.
Yeah, and that was really sketchy stuff through double gauche, as even more moving about, trying to get positions done further down your field, as Sanchez and Labigra got into each other. That's what happened to Labigra, dropping him down the order in that one, as there was the door firmly shutting on Jordan Caruso. But one driver who is delighted with that, with his first ever sprint win, is Cooper Webster. Well, drivers will be getting themselves ready for the main race, and you can get yourself ready here on iRacing. If you've not taken part and you think, wow, I want to get myself involved in this iRacing, head on over to iRacing.com, and where you can find out how to start your iRacing career. Remember, every day is a race day here on iRacing. Sebastian Job is the winningest main race driver with 17 wins. The next nearest that's on the grid, Cooper Webster and Alejandro Sanchez.
And always really interesting to me that Caruso and Pinto, previous champions in this series, not represented on that graphic. So Paul, as we head into yet another main race, I think we're in for some intriguing expectations at the front as we get ready to go.
And here is your starting grid then. Luke McEwen and Sebastian Job sharing that front row. Kevin Nielsen and Johan Harp on row number 2. Tris Iglesias and Mitchell de Jong, your pole sitter from the sprint race, sharing row number 3. The fourth row is Chris Lulham and sprint race winner Cooper Webster, and then everybody starts where they finished in the sprint race. Gustavo Ariel, John Crusoe, row 5 with Keita and Reed on row number 6. Row 7 for Sarika and Biko, the two Williams Esports drivers with Borin Labigra and Diogo Pinto. Sankaita and Alejandro Sanchez, he'll be fuming after that race. And row number 9. Row 10 for Daniel Pashtor and Michael Gianni with Oscar Pye, Josh Thompson. Thompson actually moving through from the rear of the field to finish 22nd in that first race. Julian Sonnen and Bryn Collins then on row number 12. Row 13 for Beckham Jasiah and Elliot Veyron with Luke Will Chadwick and Elvis Rankin. Carlos Fenalosa and Nicolas Mateo for Drago Racing round out the back row of the grid. Quite the challenging season to start off for Drago Racing here. Mateo, it's been a bit of a trial by fire, hasn't it, for the Spaniard?
Just a little bit, and of course they represent part of what is a very diverse group of drivers, both of the Drago Racing drivers from Spain, the team, based in Poland. So we know just how quick they can be. Przemysław Lemonek won the iRacing Grand Prix Series in the Dallara IRO1 a couple of years ago, of course, beating Peter Berryman to the championship, of course. So we know just how quick the Drago team can be, Paul, just hoping they can connect all the dots in the Supercup.
Yeah, that's what it takes. But we've got 30 of the best sim racers here on the grid for this main race for week number 3 of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup. Drivers looking to the starter's gantry, and then the engine revs rise. Bit of a long hold, but it's green flag racing here at the front. Good launch from Luke McEwen at the front. Sebastian Job moves right in straight away because Kevin Nielsen's trying to make his way around the outside of Sebastian here in the early going. Down the hill, we got contact. Michael Gianni's been hit. So too is the 93 of Julian Sonnen, the two teammates together. Then as we go plunging downhill through Eau Rouge and Radion, look at the speed that they carry through this section of the track. And it's Sebastian Job trying to make early moves here up the Camel Straight. Can he pull alongside and get ahead of Luke McEwen before they get to the Les Combes chicane? The answer is yes.
An important move there. I think Job is going to want to control from the front and behind. Luca Keita grabs a couple on the start. I see Will Chadwick's got a black flag, so I'm not sure if he jumped the start or maybe already picked up so many incident points he'll be returning to pit lane. But Paul, relatively clean all things considered as we dive down towards Pouhon for the first time in the main race.
Oh, it's absolutely manic in the mid-pack there. Oh, contact for Sanchez. He's unsettled through Speaker's corner as we plunge downhill then towards Double Gush once again. And through this double left-hander. And already little gaps forming in the field where there's been a bit of action going on out there. Sanchez trying to make his way past the Team Redline car. And that is going to be Sam Keita that he's battling with. Keita is a hard charger. He won't give this one up without a fight. And Sanchez has got to be careful because Daniel Pashtor is right there with them.
This is the race that Sanchez was hoping he wouldn't have. Of course, he's probably still somewhat mentally thinking about the incident at the end of the sprint race. It's the hardest thing for a driver to put something like that aside and mentally reset and go so quickly. It makes sim racing so unique as compared to being out there in the real world in full metal motorsport. Up front though, a Q-in. Half a second off of Sebastian Job, who hasn't broken away just yet, Paul. Let's see how easily he's able to control up to Les Combes on the second lap of the race.
Could this be a fantastic week for the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing team here? Because Cooper Webster, of course, getting that race win in the sprint race. Sebastian Job currently leading the main race. Here is Diogo Pinto and Florian Labigra. Josh Thompson's around. Oh, Josh. Oh, it goes from bad to worse after that really good, solid sprint race moving forward through the field. He drops all the way down to 28. That's a drop of 7 places from where he started for him in this one. Up the Camel Straight then And we're on board with the Williams Esports driver of Alessandro Bico, a driver who knows what it takes to win here at this venue. Sprint race winner back in 2023.
Not been an easy season for Alessandro, though. Has shown flashes, but not always put it all together. The team at Williams, of course, have a couple of rookies, Beckham Jasir and Daniel Pastro, joining up with Bico and Moreno Surica, but still hoping to try and put it all together. Bico sits right behind his teammate. That is a big defensive block from Mitchell de Jong, with Cooper Webster in tow behind. Luca Kita then running directly behind the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing entry. De Jong's loving, I think, being back in the Super Cup. We heard him after his pole, and he's up for this fight, and frustrating Webster for the time being.
Yeah, and there's a gap forming in front of them, as well as the front six make a little bit of a dash away at the front of the field. But de Jong, well within his rights to defend. You know, people might be saying, well, he's letting the others through, but hang on a second, he's got to think about his own championship and his own points here as well. Remember, strictly speaking, this is an individual's championship. There's no team's championship here today. So yes, you may have teammates out there, but it's all for yourself. Through the Blanchimont section of the track once again, into the chicane and Arjuna. We're going to take a look back at some of what's happened here in this race.
Let's figure out what happened to a couple of different things. So first, riding on board with, I believe, Cooper Webster down towards, out of Malmedy and down towards Bruxelles. Shoves his nose up the inside. That's a bit aggressive on Mitchell de Jong. That explains a little bit why they've lost so much time to the train in front. You can see de Jong wasn't content to fight back. And remember, de Jong's experienced in rallycross in the full metal world, so he willing to get the elbows out and covers all the way down to the white line. Long way around for Webster, not necessarily playing out in the way that he would have wanted. And that's all why that suddenly has gone up to a 2-second disadvantage, and de Jong hoping to get back into the draft.
If anybody is experienced in the dark arts of motorsport, then it is Mitchell de Jong from his time in rallycross, that is for sure. Into the Lecombe chicane once again, and Cooper Webster pulling out a lead over the now second place Sebastian Job in those light point standings. Beckham Jasir has dropped down the order on our timing tower on the left-hand side, so something's happened to the young American out there. So back we go then at the front, and Sebastian Job, any straight that they come to, he's trying to break that draft there, Arjuna, because it's up to 7, nearly 8 tenths of a second of a gap at the front. If McEwen and Nielsen start fighting, Job could be in a very comfortable position.
Said at the start, I think he wants to control this race from the lead because he feels like he's quick enough. So might be a chance for, like you said, Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing to have a very, very happy day. Win in the sprint race, win in the main race as well. So Cooper Webster's really having to fight with de Jong, still frustrating him just in front as they sweep once again out of campus through Stavilo and then climb all the way up towards Blanchimont as well. Paul, this is a 12-lap race, so we're also seeing drivers have to be more considerate of track limits. I know you love a good rant about track limits. These drivers have been pushing track limits on occasion, but with 17 incident points over 12 laps, there's a lot less leeway than 17 incident points over 6 laps.
I will say that in that sprint race, seeing the drivers going all the way out over the runoff into Blanchimont made me just a little bit cross with the drivers. He's supposed to keep it between the white lines. Here's Kevin Nielsen then, the Danish driver behind the wheel then, and he's had an interesting time in this series so far. Just 5 top 10 finishes, never a podium finish in either a sprint race or a main race for Nielsen. Could this be the day that he finally gets himself onto that podium?
Former Fire Simsport driver, of course, links up with the purple and orange just to bolster their contingent in the series. I think what we're seeing from Kevin is clearly got the pace, right? This is not the first time this season we've seen him in this sort of a position. But on occasion, maybe it's the killer instinct which he hasn't shown us just yet, right? That willingness to get stuck in on that initial sprint race start, for example. Chris Lullum up the inside, kind of pushed Kevin Nielsen out of the way and bullied him out of third position. So I think, that's one thing about the Supercup, Paul, that we talk about a lot. You have to be willing to put yourself in precarious situations. But what's made Sebastian Job grow as a driver, become the double champion that he is now in this series, is the fact that over time, he's learned when to put himself in that position and when to slightly hold back.
So there was an article on the BBC website here in the UK and about Sebastian Job and how he's aspiring to maybe get a chance at the Porsche Carrera Cup in Great Britain, potentially. I know that they're looking at if he can get behind the wheel and compete. Certainly, I'd love to see him at least take one race in that championship, because I think he would do a very good job in the series there in Great Britain. But it's here in this bid pack then, and it's Luca Kita, 9th place, just outside the top 8. He's got Cooper Webster in front of him. He's got Jordan Caruso, former champion, behind him. Quite the intense race here. But the thing is, look at the head. The fighting that Mitchell de Jong and Webster had done, they've stopped doing that Arjuna, and they are slowly gaining to that top 6 again.
And again, Job is almost out of drafting range. He's been able to break over a second clear of Luke McEwen. But I think what we're just seeing is second on back. They're running in this line right now, because if they start to battle, they'll bring those behind even more into the fight. But they just don't have the speed to catch the race leader right now. Draft's going to close up that gap as they come to the top of the track once again on lap 5 of 12. But through this mid-section of the lap, Job is just able to weave that car so much more efficiently. Nielsen's right on the gearbox of Luke McEwen as they sweep out through Malmedy, and that gap grows back up to 9/10 of a second, but it's kind of a stalemate at the front of the field. I think it's going to all kind of tip over when de Jong catches up.
Kevin Nielsen's got to worry though, because behind him is Luke McEwen's teammate, the young Frenchman of Johan Haaf. So the two of them can maybe work together from the Apex Racing team and to try and get Johan ahead and get a double podium for the outfit from Corvette. And as they go through double gush up towards Lafania once again. But don't write out Nielsen, don't write out Chris Lullum as well. We saw how quick he was in that sprint race. He's right there with them. He's been able to get ahead of Tristan Iglesias in all of this. So he is slowly moving forward as Chris.
Next up is our mid-season tournament, which we had a mid-season tournament last year from Watkins Glen. We haven't had it quite confirmed what our format's going to be this year, so could be some changes for us to all look forward to. But the one thing that we saw there, Paul, was because we shrunk the field down by so much. We had 6 or so cars in some of the initial heat races. Alliances really played an important part about when and how you fought. I think I'm looking forward to one thing though. At least it's not at the Watkins Glen oval configuration that we were kind of using, and we head to the Saxon Ring instead for the first time. That was a look at both of the Apex Racing team drivers, 2nd and 4th, as we now cycle back in the pack. Looking over the shoulder effectively of Alessandro Pico, Diogo Pinto, looking up the inside.
Well, that was a move and a half, and do you know what? He's making that work. Through he goes on Pico then, and Florian Lebigra is trying to follow the Team Redline driver through, the Verstappen.com driver of Lebigra, new to the championship this season. He's locked in behind Pico though and has to hold on for now. Now, Job, I want to point out, it's not coming down to half a second. There's a big accident in the background. Big accident in the background for Pico. He's in the wall. Oh my goodness, that was huge. It's been incredible that nobody else has caught him in all of that. That was a massive, massive accident. Spin, spin, spin down the grass for him. We'll get a replay for you when we can. But right now, at the front, Job, I want to say, has been able to just pull out a bit more of a gap than normal.
I think there may have been some other drivers that got involved in that incident after the fact. I see a black flag for Oscar Pai. See something involving Carlos Fenalosa as well. But watch Pinto here as they continue climbing.
Oh!
That's an interesting move from Alessandro Pico, who I will kind of say does that to himself somewhat.
Yeah, and you are right, by the way, Carlos Fenalosa did have his own separate incident as well. I will say, incredible that the car stayed, didn't bounce back onto the track into that mid-pack, so fortunate for us out there. Pinto, he is in 17th now, is Diogo. As he's mentioned, black flag for Oscar Pye out there. Instant points are going to be a big thing. We didn't really... I know we chatted initially just about that at the start of this race, Arjuna, but I think that could be a bigger thing here coming into the closing part.
Yeah, I brought it up a few times, haven't I? But I think in this 12-lap race, if you want to take an off-tracker lap in the closing stages, right, maybe open up Blanchimont a bit more, you need those incident points in reserve. And so maybe that explains the somewhat quiet race that we've had at the front of the field, maybe bubbling and building towards the end of the race.
Well, let's take another look at that incident then. We're going to go on board with Pinto. Listen to this then. Now that was definitely, was that a slowdown penalty there, or was that a bit of a brake check?
Definitely not a brake check, because I don't know why you do that. So I think you put 2 and 2 together and you get the slowdown. You have to assume Diogo Pinto has cut just a little bit too much of the probably top of the crest, right? Coming over the hill at Radion, that's where you have to assume he's probably put one wheel just a little bit too far over. The way the track limits work here at Spa is it's white line or edge of the curb. And there was some discussion between the drivers about the limit over the top of Radion being a little bit unclear on occasion. And I wonder, Paul, if that's exactly what played out there.
Just make it white lines everywhere, that'll sort it out as we go through Lafagna. But yeah, slow down. And the thing is, he wasn't serving that slowdown penalty on the racing line. The problem is that Pico was trying to get the run on him and using the slipstream. Add 2 and 2 together, you get an absolutely huge accident.
And the other thing is, I don't want to pile on to Alessandro here because he's probably already feeling terrible enough, but even if Pinto doesn't slow down in that situation, Alessandro's probably coming over too much in that situation, right? He's made contact to the right side, the left side of Pinto's car, to the rear as well, but we're talking right side contact. So slight misjudgment, but that's the margin that we're talking about here. Fortunately, like you say, didn't bounce back onto the track, did Pico's Williams Esports entry, didn't make it worse.
We'll hopefully get to see as well just the millimetres that you're talking about when it comes to the track limits. And look ahead, that's Pinto's car in front, and look at those right rear tyre. Oh, that is, if that's a slowdown penalty, that is brutal. Going by the letter of the regulations in the session.
This is what the drivers were having a discussion about pre-race as well, so they were aware of the margin. That's just, again, the world of sim racing. You have to push up to the limit and hope you don't step over it in many ways. Now, though, Paul, we're weaving back and forth. Job has not been able to break the draft with 5 laps left to go, and McEwen and Hart are stacked up second and third, dispatched of Chris Lolland down to 4th, and have one target on their mind.
Well, it's Nielsen that's actually been dropped down to 5th place in all of this. So while we were looking at that incident with Pinto just that little bit earlier, Nielsen's dropped out of 3rd place. He's come out of the podium positions. That's allowed Half to be there with his teammate. Lullum, he's going to be focused solely now in front at Sebastian Job. Could this be McEwen's opportunity of finally getting one over Sebastian Job, because it has been brutal what McEwen has had to put up with in terms of Job just getting one over him pretty much every other week in the British Championship. And also, could it be McEwen's first ever main race win as well, if that's the case?
It's still think Job's just got a car that's on rails around these corners, and so when you get to that mid part of the lap, he grows the gap, and it's only in the slipstream that McEwen is closing in, which you go back to that mindset, Paul. I think for Luke, if he's able to get the win, it gives him that confidence, right? Even if it was slightly assisted by draft, but you've gotten it done. On track, wheel to wheel with one of the best in the world. Speaking of best in the world, though, Fight for Eighth has got two of the very best with Mitchell de Jong and Cooper Webster still going at it, and here comes a slice up the inside from the 37.
Oh, and I think, a little bit of a hit check there from Webster. De Jong on the power. Abusing the track limits there on corner exit. You could argue that he's retained the position by taking that wider line as Keita to the inside of De Jong now. The dam is burst almost for De Jong here because Keita's going to put him under pressure. Not able to make the move that time, but De Jong is under some serious pressure now.
Webster takes the, 2020 Spa 24-hour line when track limits were optional in the real world. We'll let race control deal with that post-race. Let's not forget, anything to be investigated will be done by the team after the race and on Tuesday, because it's a public holiday on Monday in America. So long weekend for some. Hope that people have some good Monday plans, as up through Les Combes these drivers sweep once again their Monday plan, not focusing on a fourth back-to-back round in this championship, Paul. They can finally take a break.
Oh, we got cars wide. That's Ariel wide into the gravel, and he's battling away with Marina Sarica and Xander Reed here, and through goes Sarica then into that 12th place. As we look then, this is for 12th and 13th, and Ariel ahead in 11th, just outside the top 10 here is this battle. There's action aplenty all the way through the field. Now here's the thing, Arjuna, this track we've seen over the years, those that can maybe look after the tyres seem to have a bit of a better run towards the end of the race here. 12 laps, it's not the hottest conditions though, that'll be helping them.
And you have to think that maybe Job did put his tyres under a little bit more pressure than those behind, and maybe that's why the gap's closed up a little bit more. Look at the point situation on the right-hand side of the screen. I mean, you've got 5 points covering 5th through 9th as it stands right now, with Diogo Pinto 5th and Jordan Caruso 9th, two previous champions in this series. But it is starting to become a four-way fight at the front, Paul. Still very early in the season. Sebastian Joe wants to hold on at the front. He's starting to put the disappointment of Daytona behind him in the points equation.
How good is it to see Johan Harth up there as things stand in 3rd place in the championship? A driver who's been around iRacing in the Apex Racing team for years now. It's great to see him up there.
Absolutely.
Oh, no, sorry, it was Luke McEwen at the 96. Do you know what? It'd be good if I could count, Arjuna. It was Luke McEwen up there in the top 3. But still, my point stands. Harth doing really well in the podium.
Absolutely. And Harth, of course, representing France. So many different countries represented on our Porsche Esports Supercup grid, kind of reflecting what you see in the real world as well. It will be with 2 laps to go, Paul, that I think we're going to see everything kick off, because Luke McEwen has caught up to the tail end of Sebastian Job. He'll be on the gearbox of the race leader, coming across the line, if you ask me. How aggressive do these drivers want to be? You were talking mindset for Luke McEwen. We've been talking Johan Harth, how good it is to see him at the front of the field. Don't forget Chris Lullum, though. He's still a contender in 4th as well.
Yeah. It's great stuff, is this? Absolutely fantastic. Got Sebastian Job, the winningest main race driver at the front of the field. Luke McEwen, who's yet to win a main race, does have a sprint race win under his belt, remember, last year at Daytona. He got that win. You've then got behind Johan Harth, who has 1 main race win to his name, and Chris Lullum yet to have a win to his name here in this series. So mixture of experience at the front of the field, and well, McEwen, I mean, I almost sort of saw him burst onto the scene in some sim racing championships elsewhere, and he just seems to have just thrived in this Apex Racing team environment right now.
Absolutely. Of course, he's spent some time at a couple of different teams, including Team Redline in the past. So, like you say, found his home, and now one of the leaders in many ways, with the likes of Kevin Ellis Jr. stepping down and out of the world of the Apex Racing team. That was Chris Lullum feeling aggressive, Paul, up towards the chicane. And so, like I said, 2 laps to go. I think it's all kicking off right now. And Lullum and Job, of course, running out of the same awning, as you put it, in the sprint race. I think there's some help that Chris can do. He will tag the back of Luke McEwen. He'll get up to second. Suddenly the lead's blown up once again. Paul, what's Chris going to do in this situation? Does he redress it on track?
No. I think he takes it to the steward's office. It's what he does right here. Wow, big moment, dramatic moment at La Source then. So contact with both of them. And Half and McEwen will be furious about that. We're writing a terse email, but Half is not going to give this one up. If anybody can get aggressive out there, it's Johan Half. He's a former IRX world champion, don't forget as well. So he knows how to get rough here. Here's the replay, Arjuna.
And so he's thinking, I think, of just trying to grab one position, trying to get past Half. It's rather late. He jinks out and out of the line. And yes, just a slight shove. It's a slight moving out of the way. Of course, NASCAR is at Daytona. You can't really bump and run so much, but it's a stock car style bump and run. I think, Paul, if I'm race control, I watch that right there. The move was on to get past Half, but tagging McEwen is what's going to potentially make it something that means race control thinks about points penalties, which again, take a look at how the things look on the right-hand side of the screen. Chris Lullum with that move up to the top 5 in the points.
Yeah, certainly does him a world of good here. I can tell you Cooper Webster's been catching up to the back of Tristan Iglesias as well. So it's now 7 cars for the front. And well, as they come out of Stavelot, heading through Curve Paul Freyer and towards Blanchimont for the penultimate time, Sebastian Job, I feel, has got a big enough gap at the front that it takes a mistake for him to lose that place, but never say never here in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. Through the chicane, we're about to start the white flag lap here, Arjuna. Is this a chance for Johan Half to get some revenge?
And how careful have they been with incident points? How wide can they afford to run at corners where there could be an advantage to potentially swinging some more momentum through? Out of turn 1, this is not one of those places that you're necessarily thinking about, with the exception of the slowdown at the top of the hill. Can you avoid being caught out at Eau Rouge and Radion? If you can, Sebastian Job will be thinking he's clean sailing his way to victory in this main race.
Well, is it going to be main race win number 18 for Sebastian Job and really cement himself into the championship fight? Or is Chris Lullum going to get a first race win? They are closing up at the front, but not quite close enough to make the move for Lullum now. Johan Half's there as well. The question is now, can Lullum make any moves in the second half of the lap? Or does he think big picture, hold on to some good points here, and also hold back Johan Half?
This is where Job has been supreme, though, throughout this main race. Does now have a car that's probably similar on speed behind him for the first time in quite a while, so not expecting this gap to grow as much as maybe it has done in previous laps of this main race. If the gap stays where it is, Paul, Job's going to feel the pressure into the chicane, and by a similar sort of context, Lullum will feel the pressure from Johan Half as well. It's not done by any means, and look at the train that's ready to pounce if something goes wrong.
Lullum's got his windscreen wiper on. He wants the clearest view that he can possibly have for this final part of the race. Job leads from Lullum and Half, just 0.7 of a second. Cover the front 3 here as we head out of Stavelot for the final time. This is now all about power, all about carrying speed, all about using the track to your advantage. And well, if you've got those instant points accumulation pretty low, you can do exactly what Lullum's doing, taking a wide entry into Blanchimont. But Sebastian Job has just got a chicane to go. It's it here, onto the brakes. Sebastian Job, once again, is going to be a main race winner. It's win number 18 in the main races here for the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Supercup reigning champion. Brilliant stuff for him. Chris Lulham's happy as well in second place. Johan Half, I think, will be a little bit disappointed, but my goodness, that was a really intense, entertaining race there, Arjuna.
Final stragglers come across the line. Those that did not have such a fun race, but yeah, wow. Return to Spa, and a welcome return in many ways as well, Paul. Gravel added some changes as well to the track as well, but a familiar winner up front.
It's the Loctite post-race shirt here on the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, and here is your provisional race result then for the main race of week number 3, and it's Sebastian Job. It's a British 1-2 here in the Oracle Red Bull sim racing driver. Takes a win by 3.5 tenths of a second over the Verstappen.com racing driver of Chris Lulham. Apex Racing Teams, Johan Half and Luke McEwen in 3rd and 4th ahead of Kevin Nielsen. Tristan Iglesias, Cooper Webb's the sprint race winner, 7th ahead of Mitchell de Jong. John Crusoe, Luca Kita rounding out your top 10. Ariel ahead of Sarika was Reed. Sanchez will be disappointed with how this week has gone, finishing in 14th. Labigra ahead of Pinto, Kaita, Pastor, Rankin and Mateo getting up into 20th place. 21st, Veyron ahead of Julian Sonnen, Michael Janney, Will Chadwick and Josh Thompson, the last of point scorers. Biko, Pai, Jasia, Penelosa and Collins rounds out your 30 drivers. So that is how things finish here in this main race, and we'll be able to speak to our main race winner here. Sebastian Job is with Arjuna.
Another main race victory for Sebastian Job. Seb, qualifying that didn't go necessarily all your own way, but I think all things considered, you fought back well and grabbed some very valuable points and moved yourself second in the point standings.
Yeah, qualifying was a complete disaster, I have to say. I mean, I knew before quali the pace was extremely good. And I was on a good lap, it would have been pole, and then I just got loose out of Savalo 2. I have no idea why, never had it before. When testing the wind, this was my favourite wind, particularly for that corner. Just got loose, choked the lap completely. I was expecting to be a lot lower than I was, so that was a nice saving grace. Good race 1, managed a nice double overtake in T1, and then it was fairly straightforward from there. I don't think Luke wanted to fight too hard, which is fair enough. I wasn't too fussed if he defended it crazy hard. And then race 2, was just unbelievably stressful. It was basically 12 qualifying laps at absolute maximum push, maximum risk, and then I was having to watch my fuel a little bit because obviously at Spa you don't really expect to have clean air every single lap. So I was actually having to lift and coast a little bit in the second half of the race, which just added to the stress, especially with Luke slowly catching.
Talk to me.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the win, because you're not the first person that's brought that up. Of course, we haven't had rain just yet in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, but there's a new weather system in the world of iRacing, and it seems as though wind's one of those factors that you guys are really having to figure out.
Yeah, it's actually really good. I think in the past you couldn't feel the wind properly, but now you can actually feel the car behaving in a different way when the wind changes. It really does affect every corner. You can feel the car being pushed around a little bit on the straights, and it affects the slipstream as well. And unfortunately for me, it shifted from a southwest wind, which is a crosswind on the straight after Eau Rouge, to a south wind, which is a headwind. So then the draft got even stronger in the second half of the race. So yeah, it's a nice factor that we have to deal with. Definitely makes it more exciting, but this time it kind of screwed in quali because I just messed up with it. But you know, we were prepared for that, and I just didn't nail it.
Well, congratulations, Seb. We'll see you in a few weeks after the triple header to open up the season. Let's go down to P2, where Sidley Lolly grabs a podium, moves his way up 5 positions to second. Chris, good race overall, I think, for you in that Verstappen.com entry.
Yeah, absolutely. It honestly wasn't something I was expecting coming into this weekend, but I take it. I mean, I go pretty good race, I think, in both sprint and a feature, making nice progress on track, which no one made it easy for me, but that's the way it is. Yeah, it's enjoyable.
Talk about the bit of contact towards turn 1. You make a move to try and pass Johan Harth, but end up tagging the back of Luke McEwen as well. What happened there as you tried to make the move in the fight for second?
Yeah. I mean, these things happen in racing. I wanted to make the move, obviously, on Johan, but then Luke was slowing down a little bit for a nice run out the corner, obviously. But yeah, it's just unfortunate.
Well, thanks for coming and chatting with us, Chris. We'll see you in a few weeks' time. Congratulations on a solid event for you in the number 20.
Thank you.
Top 5 in points provisionally for Chris Lullen. Let's chat, though, to the third step of the podium in the main race where Johan Harth is standing by. Johan, it's been a good season, I think, from your perspective in that number 90 Apex Racing Team machine. But I think you and Luke McEwen were hoping for maybe a bit more in those final laps before the contact with Chris.
Yeah, a bit more for me. I'm not too sure because I would have had to pass both Luke and Sebi, but yeah, maybe Luke could have had a go at Seb on the lap he got it by Chris. I'm not sure, but yeah, he got too much pace at the start, definitely, for us to really have a go at him. Just one of these races where you're like just chasing him and hope for the best. But yeah, P3 2 weeks in a row. Just a shame I had a bit of a bad round at Daytona because I could be a little bit higher up in the standings.
Still a long way to go in this championship, and I mean you've seen so many swings and roundabouts in the Porsche Esports Supercup. You know things can change. Next up's our mid-season tournament, though, and a new track to the series as well as we head to the Saxon Ring. What are you kind of expecting? How's your preparation going to be as we get a couple of weeks off before we return?
Well, first I have to buy the track because I don't own it. Yeah, that should be interesting. If it was a proper round at Saxon Ring, that would be kind of underwhelming because it's not a track where we expect a lot of overtaking. It's a pretty twisty track, so yeah, it's a good thing it's the mid-season tournament because it's probably going to shake things up.
Well, I'm apparently more prepared than Johan Harth as I own Saxon Ring, but Johan, we'll see you in a few weeks' time. Paul, always great to get the reaction from our drivers. These points, though, it's super close at the top.
It's been a really good week for the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing team. Sprint race win for Cooper Webster, main race win for Sebastian Job means that those two drivers that are at the front of the field, 29 points separate the two of them. Alejandro Sanchez, it's a case of what could have been for him here today, drops down to third ahead of Luke McEwen and Chris Lullen. Pinto, Nielsen, Harth, Caruso, even Tristan Iglesias, they're looking on the outside looking in here, aren't they?
Starting to get that point, and the mid-season tournament is going to be a slightly different sort of a race, right? You heard it from Johan. It's going to affect his preparation as well, and so heading out of that, we'll have 3 more rounds, and it's going to determine our championship.
Well, as we said, it's a new track for the series, the Saxon Ring in Germany for our mid-season tournament. If you saw the last time out at Watkins Glen how dramatic that was, this could be a really intriguing round that could have big championship ramifications here. Make sure you join us 3 weeks' time for that on March the 8th, 1900 GMT, for all of the action from the Saxon Ring in Germany. But I'm afraid that is all that we've got time for here on the Loctite post-race show. Been a pleasure to have you all along here for the ride. A great couple of races here tonight at the Spa-Francorchamps. Cooper Webster with the sprint race win, Sebastian Job with the main race win. We'll see you in 3 weeks' time. Take care.